Overthinking is something that we all experience at some point in our lives. It's when your mind keeps thinking about the same thing over and over, worrying about what might happen, or imagining all the possible problems. It's not loud like anger or sadness. It doesn't shout or scream. Instead, overthinking is quiet and sneaky. It slowly drains your energy, takes away your joy, and stops you from doing what you want to do. It feels like something that is always with you, quietly whispering doubts into your mind. Imagine this. You want to send a message to a friend, but instead of just sending it, your mind starts running in circles. What if they don't like it? What if I say something wrong? What if I look silly? You keep thinking, but you don't send the message. You end up sitting there, stuck in your thoughts, wasting time. In the end, you didn't send the message at all, and the opportunity to connect with your friend was gone, just like that. This is what overthinking does. It takes away your ability to act, to try new things, and to enjoy life. It keeps you in your head, thinking and worrying, but it never lets you move forward. Overthinking steals chances, and you don't even realize it until it's too late. You don't speak when you want to. You don't try new things because you're afraid of making mistakes. Overthinking stops you from taking action, and in the end, it stops you from living fully. One area where overthinking really gets in the way is learning English. How many times have you wanted to speak in English, but then you stopped yourself because you were too afraid? What if my accent is wrong? What if they don't understand me? These questions make you freeze and not say anything at all. The fear of making a mistake can be so strong that you choose to stay quiet instead of practicing. But the truth is, overthinking stops you from improving your English. It stops you from speaking, from trying, and from learning. And the more you avoid speaking, the harder it becomes to break the cycle. But why does this happen? Why do we let ourselves get trapped in overthinking? The simple answer is that we want control. We think that if we think about something enough, we will find the perfect answer. We believe that by thinking about it, we can prepare ourselves for every possible outcome. But that's not how life works. Life doesn't give us perfect answers. It gives us choices, and we have to take them, even if we don't know exactly what will happen next. Overthinking makes us believe that if we keep thinking, we will find the right answer or make the perfect decision. But in reality, it only makes us feel more afraid and uncertain. Let's think about a situation where overthinking can stop us from moving forward. Imagine you want to speak in English. At first, you are excited because you want to practice, but then the overthinking begins. What if I say something wrong? What if they laugh at me? What if I forget what I wanted to say? These thoughts stop you from speaking. You might even decide not to try at all, but the truth is, those thoughts are not real. They are just fears that your mind has created. And the more you listen to them, the more you believe them. Over time, you stop trying, you stop speaking, you stop learning. The key to overcoming overthinking is to recognize that these thoughts are not always true. Your mind lies to you. It tells you things like, you're not good enough, or you'll fail. But these are not facts, they are just your fears. And when you believe those thoughts, they hold you back. You begin to think that you're not capable of speaking English, or that you will never get better. But the truth is, everyone makes mistakes, everyone struggles in the beginning. The important thing is to keep trying, to keep practicing, and to keep moving forward. So, how do we stop overthinking? The first step is to stop trusting every thought that comes into your head. Not all thoughts are facts. Just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. When you start to notice your mind racing, you need to remind yourself that these thoughts are just fears. They are not real. You don't know what will happen. You don't know what others are thinking. You don't know the future, but your mind acts like it does. And that's where overthinking begins. When you realize that your thoughts are not always true, you take back your power. You stop letting your mind control you, and instead, you start controlling your thoughts. This doesn't mean that you will never have negative thoughts or fears again. It just means that you can choose not to believe them. When you hear that little voice in your head telling you, you can't do it, or you'll fail, you can say to yourself, that's just my fear talking. I'm going to try anyway. This is how you break the cycle of overthinking. You don't let your thoughts stop you from taking action. Overthinking is like a prison in your mind. It keeps you stuck, unable to move forward. But the key to escaping that prison is simple: stop overthinking and start acting. Take one small step at a time. Speak, even if you're afraid of making mistakes. Write, even if you're unsure of your grammar. Every small action helps you break free from the trap of overthinking. And as you keep practicing, you will get better. The fear will slowly fade away, and you will find that you can speak with confidence without being held back by your thoughts. In the end, overthinking doesn't serve you. It doesn't make you smarter, and it doesn't help you learn. It only keeps you from living the life you want. So, the next time you feel that familiar sense of overthinking creeping in, take a deep breath. Remind yourself that your thoughts are not facts. Take one small action, and watch how the fear starts to disappear. It's time to stop overthinking and start living. Overthinking is something that can take control of your mind without you even noticing it. It starts small, like a tiny thought, and then it grows bigger and bigger until it becomes hard to ignore. The scary thing about overthinking is that it doesn't always feel bad at first. In fact, many times, you don't even know it's happening. It feels like you're just being careful or thoughtful. But the truth is, overthinking doesn't help you. Instead, it makes things more complicated and stressful. Think about a time when you wanted to do something, but you couldn't because your mind was filled with too many thoughts. Maybe you wanted to speak in English, but you kept thinking, what if I make a mistake? Or what if I sound funny? These thoughts start small but quickly become bigger. You start imagining all the things that could go wrong. You think about how others might judge you, how you could embarrass yourself, and how you might fail. Instead of just trying, you end up doing nothing. Overthinking works in a similar way to a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, the snowball is small, but as it rolls, it picks up more snow and grows larger and larger. The more you think about something, the bigger your worries get. Soon, your thoughts take over, and they stop you from taking action. This is the power of overthinking. It makes things feel bigger than they really are. And before you know it, you find yourself stuck, unable to move forward. Let's take Anna's story as an example. Anna is learning English, and she wants to practice speaking with others. But every time she tries to speak, she starts overthinking. She worries about her accent, her grammar, and how people might react. She wonders if they'll laugh at her or think she's not good enough. The more she thinks about it, the more afraid she becomes. In the end, Anna doesn't speak, she doesn't try, and she doesn't learn. She's stuck in her thoughts, unable to take action. This is how overthinking can stop you from learning and growing. It keeps you stuck in your head. Instead of acting, you spend all your time thinking about what could go wrong. And because of that, you miss out on the chance to try and improve. Overthinking stops you from speaking English, making mistakes, and learning from them. Instead of practicing, you sit quietly, afraid to make a move. Overthinking can also make you feel physically tired. When you think too much, your body can start to feel tense. Your muscles tighten, and your breathing becomes shallow. You might even feel tired, like you've run a race, even though you haven't done anything physically. This happens because your mind is working overtime, but you're not actually doing anything to release that energy. You're stuck in a loop of thoughts that go nowhere, and it leaves you exhausted. Overthinking is also connected to fear. It creates fears that may not even be real. When you overthink, you imagine worst-case scenarios. You think, what if they don't like me? Or what if I make a fool of myself? These fears can feel so real that they stop you from taking action. But the truth is, these fears are often just thoughts in your head. They haven't happened yet. They're not facts. But when you overthink, your mind tricks you into believing that they are. And this is what makes overthinking so dangerous. It builds fears that prevent you from doing what you want to do. It's important to understand that overthinking doesn't just affect your ability to speak in English, it affects everything in your life. It can stop you from trying new things, taking chances, or reaching for your goals. When you overthink, you lose confidence in yourself. You start to doubt your abilities. You think that you need to have everything perfect before you can take the next step. But this is not true. Life doesn't work that way. You don't have to be perfect to take action. In fact, being imperfect is part of the process. Mistakes help you learn and grow. The good news is that overthinking is something you can control. You can learn to catch it early and stop it before it takes over. The key is to understand that your thoughts are not always true. Not every thought in your head is a fact. Just because you're thinking something doesn't mean it will happen. When you realize this, you can start to break free from overthinking. You can take a deep breath, let go of the fear, and take action. Overthinking also tricks you into thinking that you need more time to make a decision. It tells you that you need to think things through, that you need to be completely prepared before you do anything. But the truth is, you don't need to wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is now. The more you wait, the more your fears grow. The more you wait, the more you convince yourself that you're not ready, but you are. The moment you start, you'll learn, you'll improve, and you'll get better. This is where the power of action comes in. When you act, even if it's just a small step, you break this cycle of overthinking. You stop the thoughts from controlling you. The more you practice taking action, the less you'll overthink. And the more you practice speaking in English, the less you're worrying about making mistakes. You'll start to feel more confident, and your overthinking will lose its power over you. In the end, overthinking is just a barrier that holds you back from living your life fully. It's a habit, a pattern of thoughts that you can change. By recognizing the power of overthinking and understanding how it works, you can start to break free. You can stop worrying about what might happen and start focusing on what you can do right now. Every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goal. So don't let overthinking stop you. Break the cycle, take action, and start moving forward. Overthinking can feel like a heavy weight on your mind, making everything seem bigger and scarier than it actually is. But the good news is, you don't have to stay trapped in your thoughts. There are simple and practical ways to stop overthinking and take control of your mind. Let's explore some steps you can take to break free from overthinking and start living more peacefully. The first thing you need to understand is that overthinking begins with a small thought. Imagine this: you send a message to a friend and they don't reply right away. The first thought that comes to your mind might be something like, maybe they're busy. But if you don't stop there, that thought can grow. You might think, maybe they're ignoring me. Then it turns into, what if they're angry with me? And suddenly, that small thought has turned into a big worrying. Overthinking makes these small thoughts seem much larger than they are. This is why it's important to catch these thoughts early. The sooner you notice that you're starting to overthink, the easier it is to stop the cycle before it gets out of control. One way to do this is by telling yourself, this is not helping me. The moment you recognize that you're overthinking, you can remind yourself that these thoughts aren't solving anything. They're just making things worse. By saying this simple phrase, you stop the train of thoughts before it speeds up. This is the first step to breaking free from overthinking. It's like telling your mind, I don't need to go down this path. Instead, you can choose to focus on something more positive or productive. Another powerful tool to stop overthinking is to empty your mind. When you overthink, your mind gets full of all kinds of thoughts, worries, and fears. It's like trying to carry too many things in your hands at once. It gets heavy, and eventually, you can't hold anything anymore. The same thing happens in your mind. When you don't let go of your thoughts, they pile up, and you feel overwhelmed. One way to release this pressure is by writing down your thoughts. Take a piece of paper or open a notebook and write down everything that's on your mind. It doesn't matter if your thoughts are perfect or not, just write them down. This will help clear your mind and make things feel less crowded in your head. Writing down your thoughts can also give you a new perspective. When you see your worries on paper, they often don't seem as big as they did in your head. For example, if you're worried about making a mistake while speaking English, write down the thoughts that are bothering you. What if I make a mistake? What if they don't understand me? Now, look at those thoughts on paper. Do they still feel as scary? Probably not. Once you get your thoughts out, you realize that they aren't as important as they seemed before. You can even laugh at how silly some of them are. This practice helps you realize that most of your worries are just made up in your mind. They aren't real. The next step is to stop asking the question, what if? Overthinking often starts with this question. What if I fail? What if they laugh at me? What if I make a fool of myself? These what if questions lead you to imagine worst-case scenarios that haven't happened yet. They make you feel scared and stuck. But the truth is, most of the things we're worrying about never happen. Asking what if is like creating a problem that doesn't even exist. Instead of asking what if, ask yourself, what can I do right now? Focus on the present moment and take action. For example, if you want to speak in English but are afraid of making mistakes, ask yourself, what can I do now to practice? You can start by saying one sentence in English, even if it's just something simple like, I like to study English. When you focus on the present and take action, you stop the cycle of worrying about things that might never happen. You move forward instead of staying stuck in your thoughts. One helpful trick to stop overthinking is to say your thoughts out loud. When you think something in your head, it often sounds bigger and scarier than it really is. But when you say it out loud, it doesn't have the same power. For example, if you're worried about speaking in English, say out loud, I think I'll make a mistake. Now, listen to yourself. Does it sound as scary when you hear it? Probably not. By saying your thoughts out loud, you can turn an emotional thought into a logical one. You can also ask yourself, is this thought really helping me? Most of the time, the answer will be no. Another important solution to stop overthinking is to let go of the need to be perfect. Many people overthink because they want everything to be perfect. They think, I can't speak English until I get everything right, or I can't try until I know I won't make a mistake. But perfection is not the goal. The goal is to take action and make progress. No one ever learned anything by waiting for the perfect moment. Mistakes are part of the process. They help you learn and grow. If you want to start speaking English but are afraid of making mistakes, remember that mistakes are normal. Everyone makes them. Instead of waiting for the perfect time, start speaking now. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. What matters is that you try. Each time you speak, you get better. Each time you practice, you improve. And over time, you will become more confident and comfortable speaking in English. Lastly, if you find yourself stuck in a cycle of overthinking, try to move your body. Overthinking makes you freeze mentally, but when you move, you break the cycle. Go for a walk, stretch, or do something active. This will help you focus on the present and stop the flow of negative thoughts. When your body moves, your mind follows, you'll feel better, and you'll be able to think more clearly. Key is to recognize when you're overthinking and take action to stop it. Write down your thoughts, challenge your what-if questions, say your thoughts out loud, and focus on progress, not perfection. By doing this, you will learn to control your thoughts instead of letting them control you. You'll feel more confident and less stressed, and you'll be able to take action instead of staying stuck in your head. To stop overthinking, it is important to change the way we think about ourselves and our abilities. One of the best ways to do this is by developing a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that we can improve and get better at anything, even if we make mistakes along the way. This mindset helps us see challenges as opportunities to grow instead of something to fear. With a growth mindset, we stop worrying about being perfect, and instead, we focus on making progress. When we have a growth mindset, we understand that mistakes are a natural part of learning. They're not failures, but opportunities to learn something new. For example, if you are learning to speak English and you make a mistake, instead of thinking, I'm terrible at this, you can think, I made a mistake, but now I know how to do it better next time. This shift in thinking helps you stay positive and motivated, even when things don't go perfectly. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we must be perfect right away. We think, I need to speak English perfectly, or I shouldn't speak at all, but perfection is not the goal. The goal is to try and improve each day, little by little. If you wait until you're perfect before you take action, you'll never start. The key is to start now, even if you're not perfect. Every time you try, you get closer to your goal. One way to develop a growth mindset is by focusing on progress, not perfection. Progress means moving forward. even if it's just a small step. It means improving over time, learning from mistakes, and becoming better every day. If you focus on progress, you will be less afraid to make mistakes because you will see them as part of your learning journey. You won't be worried about being perfect, and you won't let overthinking stop you from taking action. For example, if you want to speak English more confidently, don't worry about speaking perfectly. Instead, focus on saying something every day, even if it's just a few words or a sentence. The more you speak, the more confident you will become. And with each mistake, you'll learn something new that will help you speak better next time. By focusing on progress, you'll build confidence and slowly overcome the fear of making mistakes. Another way to develop a growth mindset is by embracing challenges. Challenges can feel scary, but they are opportunities to grow. When you face a challenge, like speaking in English in front of others, don't avoid it because you're afraid of making mistakes. Instead, take the challenge head on. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Each time you face a challenge, you will become stronger and more confident. And the fear of overthinking will start to disappear as you realize that challenges are just part of the learning process. In the beginning, it may feel difficult, but the more you practice, the easier it will get. Every time you speak, you're getting better. Every time you make a mistake, you're learning. And each time you push through a challenge, you're building your confidence. This is what a growth mindset is all about, believing in your ability to improve and not giving up when things are tough. It's also important to remember that learning is a journey, not a race. You don't need to be perfect today, and you don't need to learn everything all at once. Take it one step at a time. Each small action you take will bring you closer to your goal. If you want to speak better English, practice speaking every day. If you want to write better, write a little each day. Don't worry about how fast you're going. What matters is that you're moving forward, learning, and improving. Another key part of a growth mindset is being patient with yourself. Overthinking often happens because we're too hard on ourselves. We want to be perfect right away. And when we're not, we get frustrated. But learning takes time. Don't expect to be fluent in English overnight. It's okay to make mistakes. In fact, making mistakes is one of the best ways to learn. The more patient you are with yourself, the more progress you will make. Remember, every step you take, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. If you want to speak English confidently, start by speaking a little every day. Don't wait until you feel perfect. Speak now. Mistakes are okay. Over time, you will see how far you've come. The key is to keep going, keep practicing, and keep improving. Another important thing to remember is that you are not alone in this journey. There are many people who are also learning, and you can support each other. Find a study buddy or a language partner, practice speaking with them, and encourage each other to keep going. When you have people who support you, it's easier to keep going, even when it feels hard. You don't have to do this alone. Finally, trust in the process. Learning takes time, but if you stay consistent, you will improve. The fear of overthinking will become smaller and smaller as you keep moving forward. Every day you practice, every time you try, you are one step closer to your goal. Keep your focus on progress, embrace the challenges, and trust that you are growing. In conclusion, developing a growth mindset is one of the best ways to stop overthinking and move forward. By focusing on progress, embracing challenges, and being patient with yourself, you will build the confidence you need to succeed. Remember, learning is a journey. You don't have to be perfect today. Just keep going, and you'll see how far you've come. Overthinking is something that we all face from time to time. It can make us feel stuck, anxious, and unsure of ourselves. The fear of making mistakes or not being good enough can trap us in a cycle of worrying. But the truth is, overthinking does not help us solve problems or improve our skills. It only stops us from taking action and moving forward. To break free from overthinking, we need to focus on taking simple, small steps that help us act, rather than think endlessly. One of the first things we need to remember is that thoughts are not always the truth. Just because we are thinking something, it doesn't mean that it's real. Our minds often tell us stories about what could go wrong or what others might think of us. But these are just stories, and they are not facts. When we realize that our thoughts are not always true, we can stop letting them control us. Instead of being afraid of what might happen, we can focus on what we can do right now. Taking action, even if it's just a small step, is the key to moving forward. Many people overthink because they are waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect plan. They think that they need everything to be perfect before they take action. But waiting for perfection will only keep you stuck. The truth is, you will never be perfect at something the first time you try. Learning is a process, and mistakes are a natural part of that process. Every time you take action, you learn and grow. So, instead of waiting for the perfect moment, start now. Take one small step, and trust that you will improve as you go along. For example, if you want to speak English more confidently, don't worry about making mistakes. Just start speaking. It doesn't matter if your words aren't perfect. What matters is that you are practicing and taking action. Every time you speak, you become more comfortable with the language. Over time, your confidence will grow, and overthinking will have less power over you. By taking action, you will start to see progress, and that will motivate you to keep going. One important thing to remember is that you don't have to do it all alone. There are many people who are also learning, and you can support each other. If you find someone who is also working on improving their English, practice with them. Talk to them, share your thoughts, and encourage each other. Having someone to support you can make the journey less lonely and more enjoyable. When you have a friend or study partner, it becomes easier to take action and move past the fears that hold you back. Another way to stop overthinking is to break down your goals into smaller, more manageable tasks. Sometimes, the idea of achieving something big can feel overwhelming, and this is when overthinking can start. But if you break your goal into smaller steps, it becomes easier to take action. For example, if your goal is to speak English fluently, don't try to do everything at once. Start with small goals, like learning 5 new words each day or practicing speaking for 5 minutes every morning. These small steps will build your confidence, and as you achieve them, you'll see how much progress you are making. You might also find that when you take action, your fears start to disappear. The more you practice, the less afraid you will be of making mistakes. The more you speak, the less you will worry about what others think. Over time, you will become less focused on your fears and more focused on your growth. This shift in focus is what allows you to stop overthinking and move forward. Remember, every small step counts, and every time you practice, you are moving closer to your goal. It is also important to be kind to yourself along the way. Overthinking often comes from the fear of not being good enough or not meeting expectations. But you need to remember that learning is a journey, and you don't have to be perfect. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to feel uncertain at times. What matters is that you keep going, even when things are hard. Be patient with yourself and celebrate the small victories along the way. Each step you take, no matter how small, is an important part of your progress. So, how do you move from overthinking to action? Start by recognizing when you're overthinking. When you notice that you are stuck in your thoughts, remind yourself that not all thoughts are true. Then, take a small action. Speak in English for a few minutes, write down your thoughts, or take a walk to clear your mind. By taking these small actions, you will break the cycle of overthinking, and you will start moving forward. The most important thing to remember is that you don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You don't have to wait until you feel confident or ready. The best time to take action is now. Start with one small step, and trust that the more you do, the easier it will get. With time, overthinking will lose its power, and you will feel more confident and capable. In conclusion, moving from overthinking to action is about changing the way you think and taking control of your fears. It's about accepting that mistakes are part of the learning process and that you don't need to be perfect to succeed. By focusing on small steps, being kind to yourself, and seeking support when needed, you can overcome overthinking and start living more freely. Don't let fear hold you back. Take action now, and you will see how much you can achieve.